The arena floor was slick with ichor and blood, some red, most not. Lyraven's breathing came in ragged gasps as she parried another strike from the Krethak's warbeast, her energy blade flickering dangerously low. The crystalline structure of her exoskeleton, once shimmering like polished amethyst, was now cracked and dull in a dozen places. She had been fighting for 3 standard cycles. The crowd, a mixture of species from across the Terminus sector, roared with bloodlust. This wasn't supposed to happen. Lyraven was a scholar, a xenobiologist from the peaceful Valorian collective. But when the raiders had taken her ship, when they'd thrown her into this pit for entertainment, she'd discovered something she never knew existed within her. The will to survive. The Krethak circled, its 6 legs clicking against the metal floor, mandibles dripping venom. It was the 4th opponent they'd sent. She'd killed the first 3, though each victory had cost her dearly. Her left arm hung useless, the cybernetic interface shattered. Her vision swam. This is it, she thought, raising her blade one final time. At least I fought. The war beast lunged. And then something impossible happened. A human dropped from the upper stands, a 20-meter fall that should have shattered bones, and landed in a crouch between Lyraven and death. The impact sent spiderweb cracks through the arena floor. He rose slowly, rolling his shoulders as if working out a minor kink. "Hey there," he said, glancing back at her with a lopsided grin. "Kale Arden, Earth Defense Corps. You look like you could use a hand." Lyraven stared, her 4 eyes wide with disbelief. Humans were rare this far into the Terminus sector. Their homeworld was 3 jumps away, and most species considered them curiosities. Soft things. Water-blooded weaklings who'd barely achieved FTL travel 50 cycles ago. The Krethaks didn't care about diplomatic assessments. It charged. Kale moved. Lyraven had studied human physiology. She knew their limitations: fragile skeletons, single-chambered hearts, primitive immune systems. What she witnessed now contradicted every text she'd ever read. Kale didn't dodge the war beast's strike. He caught it, his hands wrapped around the creature's mandibles mid-lunge, boots skidding backward from the force but holding firm. The Krethaks thrashed, its massive bulk easily 3 times the human's weight, but Kale's grip didn't falter. His arms trembled, not from weakness, but from the sheer restraint of controlled violence. "You know," he grunted, veins standing out on his forearms. "Back home, we had something called persistence hunting. Chased prey until it collapsed from exhaustion." He twisted sharply, and the sickening crack of chitin echoed through the suddenly silent arena. Turns out humans are really good at not knowing when to quit. The Krethaks hit the ground, twitching. Kale released it and turned to Lyraven, who had collapsed to one knee, her blade finally extinguishing. "You fought well," he said softly, offering his hand. "But you're not alone." She looked at his hand, 5-fingered, scarred, impossibly steady after what he'd just done. "How?" she whispered in standard. "Your species shouldn't be capable of..." "Of what? Fighting?" Kale's smile faded. "Lady, humans have been fighting since before we climbed down from the trees. We fought the weather. We fought predators. We fought each other. And yeah, we're not the strongest or the fastest, but we've got something that apparently matters out here." He tapped his chest. "We don't know how to give up." The arena doors burst open, and a dozen guards rushed in, a mix of Hraxian enforcers and automated sentries. The crowd's roar had turned to confusion and anger. Someone had interrupted their entertainment. Kale pulled Lyraven to her feet, supporting her weight effortlessly. "Can you run?" "I can barely stand," she admitted, her translator struggling with the human idiom. "Good enough." He swept her into his arms like she weighed nothing. And suddenly they were moving. What followed defied everything Lyraven understood about human limitations. Kale ran, truly ran, carrying her through a hail of plasma fire, his body twisting and weaving with a grace that seemed impossible for a species that had only recently left their gravity well. He didn't move like prey. He moved like a predator that had decided the hunting was done. An energy bolt grazed his shoulder, burning through his jacket. He didn't slow. A guard stepped into their path, and Kale's legs swept out in a devastating arc that sent the Hraxian crashing into his companions. Still, he didn't stop. "Your species classification," Lyra Ven gasped as they burst through a maintenance corridor. It says Death Worlder. But the threat assessment is minimal. That can't be right. KL kicked open a door, revealing a small human shuttle on an unauthorized landing pad. Yeah, about that. We might have downplayed a few things during first contact. Didn't want to scare anyone. He set her down gently in the co-pilot's seat and slid into the pilot's chair, his hands dancing across controls that weren't designed for his species. Turns out, when you evolve on a planet that's actively trying to kill you every day, you get good at adapting. The shuttle's engines roared to life. Warning lights flashed across the pad as automated defenses activated, but Kale was already lifting off, the craft responding to him as if he'd flown it 1,000 times before. Your arm, Lyra Ven said, noticing the blood soaking through his jacket. You need medical attention. I've had worse. He punched the throttle, and they shot into the atmosphere. Defense turrets tracking but failing to compensate for his erratic piloting. There was this one time in basic training, drill sergeant made us do a 40-kilometer march in full gear, in the rain, uphill, both ways, somehow. He laughed, a sound that was somehow both weary and defiant. Point is, humans are stubborn bastards. We don't quit, we don't break, and we sure as hell don't leave people behind. As they cleared the planet's gravity well and jumped to FTL, Lyra Ven looked at the human beside her, this supposedly primitive species that had just torn through an arena full of killers to save a stranger. His hands were steady on the controls despite his injury, his jaw set with determination. Thank you, she said finally, for fighting with me. Kale's grin returned, softer this time. Like I said, you're not alone. That's the thing about humans. We're pack animals. And whether you're from Earth or Valoria or some planet we haven't even discovered yet, if you're in trouble and we can help. He met her eyes. We will. Every single time. Because that's what humans do. In the cold vastness of space, the small shuttle raced toward safety, carrying a weary warrior, and the human who'd reminded her that sometimes, the most dangerous thing in the universe isn't the biggest or the strongest. It's the one that refuses to quit.